Hey there, YouTube and Wooper Club fans. It's me, Fruit Taco Michael, coach of the Route 1 Burbs, here bringing you finally the championship match of WCL Season 15. We have the Waterdeep Wobbuffets going up against the Close Combat Club, and, well, things are a little weird this time around. I am recording from a little bit of a janky setup on one of my last days of vacation, and helping me record and comment here is IllLogic. Of course, you know him from the power rankings. How's it going, man?
I'm doing great. It's just fortunate that you didn't make the finals together, or otherwise, oh boy, you'd be playing very much off-site anyway. So just as well that we can do this together.
Yeah, so like I said, we have the Wobbuffets here, I believe, for their third finals appearance in a row, going up against the Close Combat Club. Does this kind of matchup mean anything to you? Kind of, what have their paths kind of been this season?
Yeah, this is a very, very fun matchup to look at and go over. Two of the teams that have been here since season one. Steve with a bit more storied history, I would say, winning season one, making the finals in season seven, and then appearing in each of the last two finals, 13 and 14, taking home one and losing one, both against me. So back-to-back finalists for both of us. But I couldn't make it this time. Steve was able to trample over me. With John also being around since season one, having decent success, making a few semifinals, but only one finals appearance. That was kind of a janky season, the multi-battle season back in 9. Hasn't made a finals otherwise, so it's really nice to see him here. And as different as it seems like these two franchises are overall, the path to get here this season is actually somewhat kind of similar. We kind of both thought that both were a little bit washed up here. There were some times that they really stumbled, right? Both of them came out of the gate 1 and 2, not a great start. Actually, both of them started 0 and 2 before finally getting their first win there too. And their wins, all of them were pretty dominant actually too. Not particularly close calls, a lot of 5-0s, 6-0s, 4-0s on the matches that they did win, but finally started coming into their own by the end of the season to just barely sneak in there. That's such a fun storyline to see. The very last match of that week, the Boulder Boulders beating the Chill and Cheese allowed both of these 4 and 4 teams into the playoffs at the very last minute. They're the 8 and 10 seeds. They shouldn't have been here. They were struggling all season, but boy, did they turn on at the exact right times, mowing down the competition in the play-in match, round of 8 and round of 4 to get here. This is an awesome matchup to see two hot teams going at it with very storied histories to back that up.
Yeah, and well, it seems like the league has really been growing. Like you said, we've got an 8 and a 10 seed coming in here, and it's been a big shakeup in the league the past few seasons. It really seems like anyone in the league can really put on a strong performance and certainly make it into the playoffs. And now it seems the finals. Well, we'll just have to see how it all plays out and continues to play out in the future. But for now, let's break down the matchup and go over the two teams that brought each of these coaches here in the first place. All right, so taking a look at the two teams, we have the Waterdeep Wobbuffets with Chien Pao, Iron Moth, Landorus Incarnate with Sandforce, Terra Captain Frogadier, Pecharunt, Terra Captain Necrozma, Blastoise, Hisuian Zorua, Hisuian Decidueye, also a Terra Captain, Electros, and Berserker, going up against the Close Combat Club, who have Tornadus Therian, Iron Treads, Meowstic, Terra Captain Annihilate, Torracat, Skuntank, Hoopa, Alamamola, Brute Bonnet, Enamorous Therian, and Terra Captain Colossal. Looking briefly at the speeds, they favor the Wobbuffets a little bit. You could certainly see some Scarf, some investment, some stuff like a Rapid Spin Speed Boost, Tailwind. Both teams have used Trick Room. Lots of tricks could be employed in this match, so I don't think speed is a huge advantage either way. Looking at the Wobbuffets going into the Close Combat Club, though, the Close Combat Club have net weaknesses to Water, Electric, Ground, Rock, and Ghost, with Flying and Dragon also having less than 2 resists. I want to just kind of pick out a couple Pokemon that I think are interesting to look at for the Wobbuffets here. Electros is something that they have been making great use of, a lower point Mon that they've been making excellent use of defensively and offensively, and with Electric being pretty good into the Close Combat Club's team, as well as having that nice ground, the Levitate being immune to Iron Tread's ground moves, Electric, I believe, resisting the Steel-type moves. It's a really cool Mon in this matchup. And then the Hisuian Decidueye, another low-tier Mon that they have been making excellent use of defensively here. You could see it as another ground resist to the Iron Treads. You could see it for all kinds of different things. It could Terra, although they have been favoring the Terra on the Necrozma recently. I definitely expect to see the Wobbuffets try and do some interesting things with those Pokemon. What on the Wobbuffet stands out to you here, Nate?
Yeah, looking offensively on the other side, if you had told me that the Wobbuffets were in the finals, I'd say probably because something like Chen Pao went off. It really hasn't done that so far. It's been great. In the regular season, it was a 9-4 record overall there with KD, but looking at the way that the Wobbuffets have made it here so far, it was Electros setting up, it was Necrozma setting up, and even in its match against me, the Blastoise did a great job setting up. I think this time it might be Chen Pao's turn. There are a couple of potential answers for the Chen Pao. I'm really looking at that Alomomola that the Close Combat Club has used well. But hey, maybe instead of letting that wall Chen Pao, this could be the chance for Steve to set up on it. I would look towards something like a Sword Stance Chen Pao set to really start to rip through John's team. You mentioned that speeds aren't everything, and while that is true, the Chen Pao outspeeding everything naturally is great, plus 2 awesome priority moves to potentially start ripping apart the team. Hey, what are you going to regenerate if the health is all gone? The other possibility I'm looking at is the Iron Moth. I think Steve brought a really nice agility set in his match against me. There are a couple of cool ways Iron Moth could set up. Looking at a neat little booster energy set just to barely outspeed the Iron Treads on the other side, I think could be really interesting there too. Just enough coverage, I think, to be able to cover just about everything that he may want to be able to hit there, or maybe just bait something out like that Colossal into coming out a little bit early and messing that up a little bit. I think those are a couple really nice offensive pieces Steve has in the matchup.
All right, well, let's take a look at the Close Combat Club here then. The Wobbuffets are net weak to Dark and have less than or equal to 2 resists to Flying, Rock, Ghost, and Dragon, a much more defensively solid team type-wise. But that certainly still can be broken through. And for the Close Combat Club, I'm going to highlight a couple of kind of interesting mons here. The Scum Tank, I think, is really interesting. I'm not sure if it's coming, but it does have a potential place here in the match. Aftermath to punish physical attackers like the Qian Pao, an excellent switch into the Petrarunt, potentially super effective damage onto the Necrozma while being immune to the Psychic type stab. Again, I'm not sure it's coming. Super effective stab for the Decidueye. It just has a lot of potential uses. I think it could come. I'm not sure it's going to, but if it does, that'd be really interesting to see. And then a little less interesting is the Iron Treads. This has been putting in so much work for the Close Combat Club lately, and I definitely expect it to put in some work here as well. Rapid Spin getting a nice speed boost, being able to do some serious damage to a lot of the Wobbuffets team. And of course, the spin blocker on the Wobbuffet side, the Petrarunt, doesn't want to be taking a ground type move from Treads. So a pretty interesting dynamic there. What stands out to you about the club's team here?
Right, good call on the Treads. 13 KOs in the regular season led the way for the Close Combat Club. I'm going to take a look at their 2 Terra Captains, Annihilate and Colossal, both being used excellently so far in the playoffs. Annihilate was always going to be an important part of the club, drafted rather early, something I was looking at taking myself even. And John has done an awesome job of starting to rack up Rage Fist boosts, and well, take a look at some of the resists on any team to a Ghost move that's that spammable. It's really tough to find out. Chen Pao, okay, Drain Punch, not weak to any of the common coverage moves from Chen Pao. Annihilate really has the chance to go in there. Defensively, it's not the greatest here, I suppose. I think there are a couple ones that could take advantage of it, but John's running a really nice Assault Vest set with Annihilate to be able to help that out with a lot of help from the recovery from Alomomola. That is something I can see putting in a lot of work, especially if you can potentially get something like the Chen Pao down early. Annihilate has a chance to go in. On the other side, Colossal is a nice Terra Captain, and Steve does tend to favor a lot of ground moves on the team. We see some Earth Power users. The Landorus, of course, is awesome, but the ability to run a couple different sets in the Colossal emerging really well in the playoffs. He only brought it 2 times in the regular season, but all 3 playoff games, Colossal has come and has put in some outstanding work with a variety of sets. We've seen Assault Vest, we've seen Power Herb with Meteor Beam, we've seen fully defensive with things like Will-O-Wisp. Colossal has a lot of interesting applications of very unique typing, very unique mon, can set some hazards really well, especially if you can avoid the hazard removal from the Blastoise on Steve's side. That could put in a lot of work there too. I'm really looking at some of those underutilized mons. John in the playoffs has been favoring things like Colossal and Hoopa over things like the Tornadus, Therian, and Brute Bonnet that he had been leaning on in the regular season. Really interested to see kind of which mode he's going to be leaning into more, the one that's got him success in the postseason, or some of those just higher tier picks that he'd been using in the regular season.
All right, and well, here's the part where for a feature match, normally I would break down the teams that are actually coming to the match, but we're having a bit of a treat here. Nate and I are going to be doing some live commentary, not having seen any of the teams beforehand. We're going to be just as ignorant as you all are at first, and we're going to see if we can pick apart what these coaches are bringing and doing in the match as it happens. So, we'll see you at the start of the match. All right, and well, here the battle has just been posted. We're going to join it here, and there are the two teams. All right, let's see what we have got
No
here.
Skunk Tank? Are you kidding me?
No Skuntank John, come on. And we do have the Enamorous, though, which is very interesting. Could be very good in Trick Room or to dissuade opposing Trick Room, but does have to watch out for that, Moth, the Chien Pao. Very interesting bring here.
Yeah, the
for
couple
them.
months we're missing here too. Hoopa missing. It's been very much favored by the Close Combat Club recently. And the Tornadoes Theory not coming to the last couple of playoff matches despite being their first round pick. I know you have some gripes with that, Mon. I do love me some Torn T though.
Up from the Wobbuffets looks pretty dang standard here. These are basically the mons I expected. No Decidueye. I think probably would have been the seventh mon here, but not really upset with anything they did bring.
If anything, the Blastoise has been pretty nice for them. Look for some hazard removal. Where is it at? And also, would have been very funny to see the Hisuian Zorua, a really nice check to Annihilate, actually, funnily enough, being immune to both of its stabs. But I don't know if Steve was seriously considering that or not.
That would have been so good. And let's see, we have Terra Electric on the Necrozma. Okay. Like I said, Electric pretty decent into the Close Combat Club. And then on the other side, we have double Terra Water on the Annihilate and the Colossal. Nice defensive typing there here.
Very interesting. The one thing I definitely see missed by the electric typing on Necrozma would be the Brute Bonnet. A little bit tough there as we're getting into the leads.
All right, Iron Moth into Enamorous. Well, this is definitely favoring one of them, but do you think that John has a plan with this Enamorous? Because it doesn't seem like the safest lead into a lot of the Pokemon here.
It's true. This is a lead that screams, I want to get off a bunch of damage, but I'm not sure it has the chance to do that against all that many things. Maybe trying to predict something a little more passive. Maybe the Landorus trying to set up rocks, or the Electros, which is generally safe, but even then, I don't know.
All right, I think there is a chance that this is Scarfed Iron Moth.
Yeah, we've seen Scarf. Specs has been a popular bring against me for sure in the playoffs. I think both you and Steven brought Specs Iron Moth against me. It's very strange.
I think
too. It's tough to
I
stop.
would probably expect a U-turn, if not like a Fire or Poison move is very safe here.
I assume Colossal is the safest option that the Close Combat Club has. I mean, you would think they Steel type, but hey, there's the Fire typing on Iron Moth. That's a little tough. Don't know if you want to risk another burn onto the Annihilate as well this early in case they're going for a Fire move or anything. I'm not sure what set the Annihilate is going to be. If it's something bulky to help tank it a little bit, but then maybe missing Rest to be able to heal off the status. Tricky turn for the club.
Yep. The Alamomola, we will need to see what it's doing if it's specially defensive, which I think they've run before. Okay, here is that Colossal, like you said, pretty safe here. As Toxic Spikes go up. Oh, that is an excellent way to chip down the Annihilate and the Alamomola.
And now that's going to bring into question, how do you remove that? Probably something like the Treads, and Pecharunt sure is weak to one of those stabs, but wonder if it's going to be a lure set of some kind, or maybe even a balloon on the Pecharunt. Seems like that'd be pretty nice to help out.
We have seen him run the Destiny Bond on the Pecharunt before, so definitely a possibility here.
And Toxic Spike cuts into a lot of the survivability that the Close Combat Club has relied on. Yes, you can flip turn wishes out into things pretty decently often and frequently, but if Steve's got an offensive game plan with the rest of his mons, ooh, that is tough to play around early.
I might even look into getting... Oh, well, here's Pecharunt here probably as a spin blocker, and it does block the rapid spin there.
Yeah, it was a relatively safe play from the club, but I'm not sure how well they can follow up on this. Hopefully they can at least try and get some hazards up of their own. Not sure.
Potentially. Pecharunt shouldn't have a whole ton it can do here, but if it does just start... we see the Toxic Spikes. I could also believe there's just straight Toxic on this Pecharunt, which would be pretty dang good to click into most things. We could also potentially see a double trying to bait in the Iron Treads here.
I don't know if Steve is particularly worried about whatever the Colossal is going to do, and if that's the case, could just get a free attack off as well. Even just trying to chip something like the Brute Bonnet down to help out other teammates could be pretty big.
There's the Malignant Chain resisted. Still no Toxic. He has had no luck with the Malignant Chain this season as rocks do go up.
Absolutely.
Rocks, of course, going to be very important for that Moth and the Chien Pao, scouting items at the very least.
That's definitely big in my win against Steve in the regular season there, just finding out items and boots and such. I had a couple of big weaknesses to Rocks over there. Also, of note, Toxic Spikes do not trigger the Poison Puppeteer from Veteran because it has to be one of its own moves. That would have been a very funny interaction. Swapping it on the Toxic Spikes, getting poison and getting confused, but that will not trigger that.
That'd be crazy.
Veteran is a crazy one. This was Steve's second round pick. Put in some work already.
Here's the Iron Treads as Nasty Plot. That's pretty interesting.
I mentioned the setup previously. I wonder if he has a couple different options on here. This offensively looks pretty threatening, even if it is outsped by only a couple threats, actually. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just like Shadow Ball and Malignant Chain. There's nothing that resists both of those. Knock off, okay. Getting rid of the Kasib Berry. Shadow Ball straight up KOing the Treads. That is rough for the club.
Absolutely. Treads obviously could put in a ton of work. Would have been pretty nice to be able to check something like the Chien Pao potentially. We didn't see a booster energy on there or anything. Cover the electric typing on Necrozma's Terra as well. Would have been nice with that move, but as you've mentioned before in the highlight, Electros actually pretty nice check to that, and the Landorus potentially doing some big damage there too. Not sure how much of a place the Dreads had, but that's their fastest threat gone right now.
Let's see, just some rough calking. That looks like it could be max special attack modest into no bulk Iron Treads doing 91 to 107. So potentially a pretty interesting roll there.
Some pretty important information here from our sideline reporter down there, Joe 8 of the Akron Agrons, tells us it is noted that all of John's Mons are very wide except for the Alomomola, who is very thin.
I see. That is very important to know.
And could be have its HP cut a little bit too. And it's looking tough to try and switch in on those Toxic Spikes. Brute Bonnet can be the one to get hit with the status.
Yeah, it looks like right now I'm thinking that Petron is max HP, max special attack.
That would make sense there, and even if Knockoff didn't do as much as EQ would, probably important to try and check for the item there, try and get a little bit of chip at the very least, maybe even bring it in range of this. Wonder if the Bonnet could be rocking something like a Scarf. That'd be an awesome set here.
That'd be pretty interesting.
Not too many resists, just the Chien Pao to dark moves. Oh, it does not go.
Focus Sash. Goes down to the Sash. Spore! Oh, but the poison then also going to mean that Brute Bonnet is down as well, and, as we go to the Enamorous.
Quick decision to go to that Enamorous, wow. Does not want to wants to get statused. Tailwind would be very interesting. I don't know if how much some of these Enamorous attacks will do. Maybe even just getting off a strong Earth power here could be nice, but yeah, that Eel in the back. Eel has been quite often an Assault Vest set, and that could potentially be a nice check here too. Either way, Steve has the numbers game.
Well, here is that Eel. You're going to see Calm Mind.
It's an interesting set considering that we've got the Chien Pao in the back there. I wonder if it's going to be double dance there with potential Iron Defense coming as well.
Potentially, or perhaps a Yachi Berry.
I like that, yeah. If we're really feeling spicy, we could even see Agility coming out. Ooh.
That would be pretty cool to see. I'll see an Enamorous. How fast do you get?
It's not a very fast one to begin with. Not sure if Chien Pao wanted to speed creep any more than the Tornadus Therian anyways. Or if Ice Shard would just do too much anyways.
Alright, well, at max speed, Enamorous Therian at +2 does outspeed Adamant Chien Pao at the very least. So there could be something here.
The Petron is asleep in the back and will be taking rocks when it comes in, but I wonder if Steve can use that to make some advantageous double switching around to potentially continue to block some spinning here. The Petron definitely still has some use with how bulky it is, especially with its max HP like you think it is.
I mean, I think at this point the Wobbuffets are just trying to basically trade things evenly. The Close Combat Club, they have their Annihilate, who they'd love to get some chip on, but doing that, they've also often been, pivoting it in and out, getting some wishes from the Alamomola. Oh, knock off
Great
the
call.
weakness policy,
Great
Iron
call.
Defense.
Great call getting rid of the weakness policy there, not falling into that trap, Steve.
Very good. And I think that's like I said, the Wildcats just need to not let the club make some big KOs. They're just trying to keep things even because if they can just trade evenly, they come out ahead here. And the club don't have a lot of things to pivot right now, especially being heavily invested into this Enamorous currently.
Very heavily. This thing is going to have to pull off a couple of KOs while it's still in, at the very least. It is getting set up to do so. Just have to wonder if Draining Kiss is going to be being able to heal it up enough to do so. This could even potentially still be an angle to sack the Petrant if you're still worried about that.
Yep, and we still don't know the item on this Electros. Assault Vest, very likely.
Definitely. Second Iron Defense.
Another Iron Defense. All right, he's getting very greedy here.
Definitely. Don't think Drain Kiss is healing up enough to keep out of range of some very key moves. I'm definitely looking at the steel coverage or that not steel coverage, the poison coverage coming from the Iron Moth there. That's definitely got to be doing enough. Toxic Spikes put on so much pressure. There are some games T-Spikes can win by themselves, even if
All right, no crit. Here's the Draining Kiss. Not doing that much.
Healing up more than it's taking, though, plus 24 after the minus 19. Very funny, but Steve's going to be able to keep it low. I don't think you can risk the roll and not Draining Kiss again this turn.
Oh, definitely not.
Steve just wants to keep this low, maybe force John to have to switch around, but those Toxic Spikes will put in the work against that. Imagine trying to swap into the poison move and something else gets poisoned and takes that hit and takes the poison damage, so that's tough.
And what is the last move? You have to think that the last move is Earth Power, right?
You'd have to imagine, so yes.
Otherwise, it can't touch the Moth.
Or the Petrant, really.
Yeah, alright. Keeping it healthy-ish, but again, the Wobbuffets just need to play this pretty straight and keep this thing in range of getting revenge killed by that Moth or the Qianpao. Either of them, very possible here.
Again, a good job not to have your eyes as wide as dinner plates and see the super effective hit and just try and get a big hit off on an Amorous before it continues to set up. The knockoff was wise, even if it costs you the Electros.
I think the Wobbuffets probably had a pretty solid answer to this regardless, though, because you can always go into Iron Moth and probably bring it down into range for Qianpao to KO. Of course, it can't, Draining Kiss the Iron Moth to kind of heal off that damage.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a trade-off between bringing it probably lower in the end compared to having different boosts around here. This is probably overall a little safer. I'm just not sure how that Annihilate is going to tank enough hits in order to deal enough damage back. Going down early to that Petrant set seems to be pretty big right now.
I don't think it will. We could see. I mean, Scarf Annihilate is definitely something I would always consider. I don't think John would bring it. He hasn't brought something like that before this season, I don't think.
I don't think so. It's tough to find a move that's going to be spammable
enough. The U-turn here, out on the Draining Kiss into the Moth for the nice safe switch here. All right, not boots, but that Kiss does absolutely nothing. And yeah, here, what is your poison switch in here?
It's a little tough. If you want to bring in the Colossal to get poisoned, I think Steve will very happily trade taking all those boosts away and getting some chip onto the Colossal a little bit at a time as well. Maybe starting to bring that closer to range of a Qianpao even.
Oh yeah, and of course they now basically know the entire set on this Enamorous. They know the item that has been removed. This thing is definitely not nearly as scary now that they know all this information about it, if they can force it out.
This is probably a good call to have the Iron Moth in here. It was here for a couple of months that are gone, and
Living on no
the
poison.
the
Calm mind,
incredibly
John. What?
greedy Calm Mind. You don't need to do that.
Oh no! I mean, I think that was probably him feeling behind in the match and trying to predict like a U-turn or something. But that is really rough for the club there.
No way you
Here is
can get that greedy or try to make something out of what isn't there at this point.
yeah.
And this isn't even the best switch here either, because you're still going to be taking a ton of damage from anything that the Iron Moth does.
Yeah, and you've got that poison wearing down on you. The Wobbuffets can easily switch around here. This is easy, Petrump switching if they want. Start burning those sleep turns.
Probably best bet here is that this is a bulk up Annihilate. Maybe that could try to set up on something. Maybe the Necrozma is physical. That's about the best way that John has in right now.
Overheat,
I
interesting.
don't think I need to do calcs to say that that is probably the Assault Vest Annihilate we've seen.
Mm-hmm. And I think the Wobbuffets are again just trying to get damage and just bring things down because they have such a huge lead in Pokemon and HP on their side. They don't need to make any big protections or plays. They just need to hit what's in front of them and win in the long game. Especially because this Annihilate, I mean, it's the other Pokemon are Alomomola and Colossal. What do those do to you to win the game for the club? Nothing. All they have to do is hit this Annihilate.
Absolutely, Steve. Just needs to get off more damage onto this, pretty much. Limit the amount of times that Wish can go back into this mon to try and keep Rage Fist to a minimum. We're also getting some hard-hitting news from our side, Lynn Reporter. It appears that the Iron Moth, we got a little bit too deep in the calc, and John calced that hit against the level 50 VGC Moth, which is not a good time.
That is not ideal. No, no.
Shout out to the Jodan calc. Sometimes just bringing up random sets that don't make all that much sense to be the default set.
Especially John being a VGC player himself, maybe also subconsciously kind of defaulting to some of those calcs as well. Here's the Pecharunt.
Ooh, smart
U-turn.
U-turn.
Interesting.
That at least is pretty smart there. Steve trying to sack the asleep Petrant to be able to save Iron Moth for later. Could still get another real nice big hit in a little bit, though Iron Moth, its usability kind of dwindling a little bit at this point.
All right, and here we're going to be wishing out into that Annihilate for sure. Flip turn, I'm sure, coming out on this Alomomola here this turn.
For sure. Getting a little bit of trouble if Petrant wakes up and clicks recover. Oh boy, that starts to get scary.
All right, there's the flip turn into the Annihilate. Nice and back up to full easily. Then the Poison Chip. And, well, here... What do you think the Close Combat Club does? Do you think there's a boosting move on this Annihilate, like a bulk up?
I would love to see that. However, I think it's probably just the Assault
Straight Rage Fist for the KO.
Gotta get the KO somewhere at some point. Maybe if you really wanted to Rapid Spin, but I don't think you need to anymore. Everything will be poisoned. Revenge option's a little interesting. How can you ensure you get the KO onto this, or how can you ensure that it's not wished back up to near full or healthy? This is basically the last win con left for the club. You have to try and focus this down without giving it too many boosts.
With the Prismar, and of course Kintera out of the Ghost weakness, and then I'm sure we see a Terra from both sides here probably.
I'm not sure if John wants to go into the water typing when the electric move could be incoming. This is a really tough position. Is the Terra Electric, Terra Blast coming in, or...
Okay, there's Terra Water and Dragon Dance and no Terra. Rage Fist. Crit.
Ooh, I'm not sure how much that mattered. I think it's only taken the one hit so far. That's just a base 100 Ghost move. But this is a very strong Annihilate. There's potential here that crit did matter, but... Ooh, I'm interested to see this one. Is Annihilate bringing it back?
So, I mean, do you think there is a chance that Qianpao has Psychic Fangs?
Definitely true, yes. And this looks like it really does not care about Electros. It's going to be able to outspeed and do stuff to that as well.
I mean, I think you go Iron Moth and you just Sludge Wave here. Iron Moth, what's it doing to the Alamomola and the Colossal in particular?
Iron Moth isn't doing all that much. That may be a necessary sack later, depending on if you actually have an offensive answer to the Annihilate. But this thing is so tanky. Look at it go.
Wobbuffets definitely thinking here, planning out the end game.
It looks like a misstep, maybe from both sides now. Per Steven, that crit did matter, says our sideline reporter.
Oh boy. The prison armor reducing the super effective damage. Definitely big there. Oh, I am surprised to not see the Wobbuffets Terra there. I'm not sure there was really a reason not to.
We've seen some hesitance a couple of times from teams this postseason not to do that.
No boots on the Qian Pao either.
Wonder if
this could potentially be banded. It could be scarfed. Life Orb, Focus Sash, lots of options.
Luckily, both of the months in the back for the club are pretty decent answers. Imagine if you get a Flame Body proc here from the Colossal, it would be pretty nice.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think if the Wobbuffets have it, they have to go for Psychic Fangs here.
Probably true. Just a Crunch may be good as well, just to get that stab boost on it.
Oh, right, it did Terra out. Never mind. I was thinking back about Fighting Tape Annihilate, but it is Water type, so yeah. So Crunch is pretty much always your best move. Oh, Substitute.
Love Substitute. Picking up tech for me in our match together, but it doesn't seem to be doing all that much, as Drain Punch is still healing up a good bit of the poison chip.
Yeah, the Substitute, I'm sure, part of the strategy of kind of toxic stalling on the other side for the Alamomola and this Annihilate, but yeah, it's not doing a whole lot here.
Really hoping we got a berry showing up here.
I think they have to be subbing down to something.
It sure doesn't look like that, just getting an extra about 3 or 4% chip on it. Again, Qian not too great against much else, and there's a great switch
Switching
out.
out here, okay. Expecting the attack. Crunch, doing good to end up. Flame Bomb is going to take out the Qian Pao.
Ooh, now we're getting kind of spicy. Iron Moth starting to open back up a little bit here, too. With this low plus Annihilate no longer resisting poison, Sludge Wave actually looking pretty good.
Sludge Wave looking pretty good.
There's one mon we still haven't seen yet. I wonder what that Landorus is doing.
On the same side, though, I mean, Annihilate is looking pretty good, too. I think the if the club can find a way to deal with Landorus or Iron Moth, then I think Annihilate can take out the other two okay. But we're going to have to see. They'd love to get a Wish off onto the Annihilate.
I don't know if they're going to get the chance to. It just depends on how much pressure Landorus is putting out. We can see a Sword Stance set. I believe it also gets Calm Mind as well. We haven't seen a special attacking set yet from Steve. But that looks like that would do a lot of work here.
Yeah.
The same token, though, too, if that is an Assault Vest Annihilate, that could just mean that one more Wish in could do it if that is a special attacking Landorus. Suddenly we've gotten very close game here.
This has been really good. The club definitely pulling it back on some luck with the critical hit on the Rage Fist and then the Flame Body activation there. But you do have to think that the Wobbuffets kind of put themselves in that situation. I really don't understand subbing down all that much just for the couple extra points of chip on the Annihilate.
Can't wait for that couple of points to matter. It potentially could, but maybe if the John gets a Wish up anyways, then maybe it just simply won't. I imagine, too, if he's just gone for the Earth Power and the Iron Moth and gotten rid of that thing, and then we're just looking at 2 months left? Ooh. Club really trying to position it such that they can get Annihilate out into probably the Electros. That should guarantee a KO no matter what, which would be real nice.
I mean, I guess the subbing on the Qian Pao was, now that I think about it, more for the chip just to minimize the Drain Punch recovery when it does get hit.
With Landorus, and I don't know if you can do anything but sack the Colossal off here.
I don't think so. I think you have to sack this, then go Alamomola and Wish, and
the fun part about Alamomola, I believe last week John did run Icy Wind on it, which would be such an awesome tech in this exact situation.
we saw what did if I remember, Overheat did 30, did like a third to Annihilate?
Okay, I think it was about 36 or so.
A little
37.
over a third. You would think that the Annihilate will outspeed the Electros.
I think it's got to, yes. Though we did see the Petarant
Um,
outsped it. That means probably Landorus and Iron Moth are outspeeding that too.
oh, I would 100% expect that. It's probably bulky, like max attack, max HP, something like that. Annihilate. Um, so it can potentially survive two hits, a hit from Moth and a hit from Landorus, but it can't really Drain Punch either. The Sandstorm for the Sand
Sandstorm.
Force, and then Will-O-Wisp.
And that's
Very
that's extra
interesting.
chip, just plays wrong with the whole poison strategy that we've seen so far. And Annihilate coming out here, now that's taking a significant amount of chip, and it really cannot be spamming Drain Punch in this situation either.
Oh, and the rocks were just additional chip. Power Gem not doing a ton. The Wobbuffets content to just let Colossal kind of chip itself down here while it's doing whatever they can to punish the Annihilate when it does come in.
Yeah, just chip here and there, loses the rock resist too. Ooh,
The
love the weather
Weather
ball. That
Ball.
does
We're not
look
going
like
to be doing
special.
much to the specially offensive Weather Ball.
Oh boy. I wonder how much actually the Illimola flip turn is going to do here too. That could even just be enough to take care of the Landers. Boy, would that be huge for them.
But this is kind of an interesting game here of just stalling. I mean, the club are pretty free to click Wish here. Um, and they're both kind of just getting. Oh, this. Oh my gosh! Look at that
It
damage!
does have
Icy
Icy Wind.
Wind. Yachi Berry going to save it though.
Oh, that Annihilate's not going to be able to heal up. And of note, flip turn into no bulk Landorus looks like that was doing about 35 to 42, which means that after the burn, just a straight up flip turn would have been better, and that actually probably would have saved John there too.
Um, I mean, but can you afford to KO on the burn and risk getting that big a hit onto the Annihilate? Okay, the Sandstorm is gone, which means no stab on the Weather Ball or Sand Force boost. Electros here
Let's see
as
if we went
just
for the
getting with the
Drain Punch.
sap.
Good job. Good job at least
Yep.
flicking Drain Punch, but I have to eat a couple hits. Good job switching out of the minus speed drop too. I think that's just going to be a 2 hits from the special side. Doesn't seem like much, but it might already be range of Sludge Wave plus poison.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to looks like a 1-0 for the Wobbuffets. Big hit. Rage Fist going to take something out, but then the last Pokemon for the Wobbuffets.
Yeah, Archberry, pretty nice call there. Would have helped for something like Ice Spinner on Iron Treads as well.
Especially if you're running, specially offensive, you could get a big Earth Power or Sandstorm Storm here into that Treads. Do a lot of damage.
And speaking of the Moth Boy, missing Earth, clicking Earth Power with the Enamorous Therian onto this, really looming large at this point. Imagine we could have gotten it down to Landorus trying to KO with an Earth Power. That would have been crazy.
There lives Drain Punch. Going to recover, but not enough, as the poison is going to be enough to take down the Annihilate. And that is a victory for the Waterdeep Wobbuffets. 2 out of 3 in 3 seasons. Not too bad.
Yeah, that's pretty darn good. It's tough to see anybody repeating this frequently. It's really only been, I believe, the couple of us that have done that, at least back-to-back. And Steve, 2 out of 3 as well. Congratulations to the Waterdeep Wobbuffets. Well-deserved, well-played from both sides. This was a blast.
Yeah, definitely. Well, man, I think really well played from both sides. The Close Combat Club definitely got a little bit lucky to kind of pull themselves back into it. But yeah, like you pointed out, that Enamorous seems like it was misplayed right at the end there, not going after the Iron Moth. That damage could have potentially turn things around for the Close Combat Club.
Even just a Draining Kiss to get in range of rocks could have done it too. That's only 7% that it lived on whenever it swapped in on those hazards.
Yep. Wow, dang. Definitely a lot of stuff to go into. But I think for now, you want let's check out. You want to check out what they did bring. We should see some teams getting posted here shortly.
Yeah, I think we have a decent idea of a couple of these the brings here, but interested maybe in some tech in the back, a move here or there, or maybe some EV spreads that mattered deeply here. Could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Oh, there are the teams. All right. Let's start with the Wobbuffets. Okay. I'm going to assume that the investment on the Chien Pao. Oh, we do see Sword Stance there with the dual stab and substitute.
Yeah, sub sword stance somehow called that one. That could be the setup option. Black glasses and no priority on the Chen Pao. Very interesting.
Sash on the Iron Moth, also interesting. I like the Toxic Spikes and also Manual Toxic on it.
Iron Moth with overheat to sludge wave. It covered so much. Good call on the other two poisoning moves.
100%. All right, then we have Landorus. Very offensive and bulky as well. Got the Modest Sand Forest with Weather Ball and Sandstorm. That's so cool.
I love that set. That is very, very interesting seeing all those moves come together like this. And once again, the special Landers and probably the last week here. I don't know if he brought that at all before, but suddenly the special Landers put in a good amount of work.
Oh, and well, here is why we're seeing why the Wobbuffets didn't tear there and that crit mattering extra. We see the weakness policy on the Necrozma, who set up the Dragon Dance for the speed boost, hoping to live and get the weakness policy off, and then it just kind of truck through everything.
Yeah, X Scissor for the Brute Bonnet. Really funny there.
Pecharunt, pretty standard Pecharunt here. I see almost max HP, max special attack, modest, like I said.
Recover would have been pretty devastating if he'd gotten that off.
Yep. Oh, and we do see the assault vest on the Electros. Yep.
Sure enough.
U-turn knockoff, Drain Punch, Thunder Punch. Pretty just solid set. Max attack, adamant, almost max HP with some EVs for some particularly speed investment.
Yeah,
Pretty
at least
pretty cool, but pretty standard set. I won't say standard sets, but very expectable sets from the Wobbuffets here, except for maybe that Sandstorm Landorus. Very cool to see that.
Absolutely fire. You got to see a little bit of a mix-up from as usual, right? The substitute sword stance, toxic spikes, toxic on Iron Moth. We're saving them for the right time.
All right, let's move on. Let's look at what the club brought. Iron Treads, Choice Scarf Iron Treads.
That's a really cool option. Iron Head on there, able to probably OHKO the Chen Pao as well, so you get the jump on that and then KO it. If it could gotten the chance to come in more than once, potentially would have been pretty nice. Love the coverage options on here.
Yep, Iron Head, the Earthquake, Ice Spitter knockoff, of course. Annihilate, there's the Assault Vest. Oh, that looks like a VGC spread to me, Nate.
I'm seeing that he was cooking, apparently. Would love to get some more info on some exact information there.
Sure, Racial Strain Punch, Close Combat, U-Turn. All right. Alamola, Rocky Helmet on it. Max Physical Defense, Max Special Defense investment.
It's already got enough HP. Why not?
All right, we have the Icy Wind, Flip Turn, Wish, and Protect.
I do like the helmet there would have helped against something like a very low Chen Pao. Had the burn not gotten off there, that could have been an emergency option. It looks like.
Oh, for sure. Colossal, max HP, mixed defensive investment. Stealth Wreck, Power Gem, Will-O-Wisp, Rapid Spin.
Yeah, but it's kind of the defensive set that we've seen a few times. Shuckleberry, some of those berries have come in clutch for Colossal. Despite 4 times weaknesses, it's bulky enough to live some of those hits. You wouldn't expect it to.
Oh, 100%. There, we do see finally the last move is Earth Power on the Enamorous. Bulky set there, hoping to boost up with the Calm Minds to get the damage. And then just live things with the defense and special defense boosts.
Almost came in handy. Just clicked Earth Power at the right time.
If he just clicked Earth Power at the right time, we could be talking about a very different game. But then maybe the Rage hit Fist wouldn't have crit. So, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And lastly, the Brute Bonnet didn't get to see it do much Focus Sash. For Clear Smog, Crunch, and Close Combat.
Love the Clear Smog tech there. He's been seeing how Stu's been winning in the playoffs. It's been by setting up for the most part here. A couple more setup sets here this time, too.
Yeah, especially that Necrozma, for sure. Well, I definitely see that the Close Combat Club was cooking a little bit more here, but I really like what they brought. Both teams, I really like these teams.
Yeah, this is definitely a worthy matchup for the finals. Well prepped from both sides here.
100%. Well, with all of that looked at, you want to see if we can grab the winner for a quick interview here?
Absolutely. We should ask Jim see if he can hop in here real quick.
Okay, and here we have with us the champion of WCL Season 15. You know him, you love him from the power rankings, and also just being gosh darn good at Pokemon. It's Steve Chuck. Welcome, and congratulations.
Thank you, Michael. And yeah, it's great. It's great to win another one of these.
I do have to ask, Steve, why would you do this to the birthday boy himself? I can't believe you do that. He did claim birthday boy, right? Like, you wouldn't hurt a birthday boy.
Yes, it did cross my mind, and I was very happy going in that I was either going to win another championship or give John a birthday present. So, unfortunately, it looks like I'll have to get John something else. But happy birthday, John, and better luck next season.
We love you, John. Happy birthday. And hey, I mean, second place isn't bad. And, the real important thing is that this means that Steven did not win 3 back-to-back because Nate beat him last season. And that's really what we all care about.
That's what I care about. I'm still the only one to have done that, which is pretty nice. I guess going into the match a little bit, Steve, was there anything on the John's side coming into the match that you were very worried for, maybe even underprepared for, that didn't show up?
That didn't show up, no. I mean, going into the match, I joked about like the Skuntank or the Torracat coming, but I wasn't prepared for them, but also I think things like that I could have just made something up. The big misses were the Torn, which Electros is a very reliable switch in, and then Chien-Pao outspeeds and KOs. Torn really not much of a problem. Faster than most other things and could get a hit off, but really doesn't like taking hits from anything. The Hoopa, I guess the Trick Room mode would have been a little, I had a faster team, but again, Eel comes in, is slower, and then knock off to just KO Hoopa as it sets up Trick Room. So, I mean, if he was doing something else with Hoopa, maybe, but really, Eel kind of shut down a lot of the things. So a lot of Eel's good matchups not being here meant that slot was a little less valuable, but overall of the mons that I expected were here, and it was good.
Sure. And kind of on the flip side, how quickly did you kind of settle on the mons for your team? There were definitely some cool stuff here, like the weakness policy Dragon Dance on the Necrozma, of course the Sandstorm Sandforce on the Landorus. But otherwise, and kind of even those sets, we could have guessed, kind of similar sets. It seems like a pretty straightforward team here that you ended up with.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to try and get too creative. I went 4-4 through the regular season, and some of those losses were definitely trying things that didn't always work, trying to figure out the best way to do things. So while my sets may have felt a little samey by the end, definitely wanted to try some different approaches on things. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I brought T-Spikes on Moth. That was kind of a big thing I really wanted, as a lot of the prep focused on getting through Annihilate, and just having some consistent chip damage seemed like a great way to do it. A single layer of spikes isn't necessarily the best thing I could do to it, but also if it was going to pivot around with U-Turn and the Regenerator Olma Momola, I was pretty happy, to get that consistent chip on them. And but at least on the team he brought, there were 4 months susceptible to it, so that seemed like a pretty good play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I really like that bring. And Nate and I had been talking prior to the match. I had talked about Skuntank. I thought it had a place in this match. Another thing it could have done was absorb those spikes. but it wasn't there. And yeah, great bring there. Nate, anything else about the Wildfeds team here kind of particularly strike you?
Yeah, it seems like the reason you've had success in the playoffs in recent times, a couple things that attribute that to. Similar to me, I think there are some sets that you hold you kind of have in mind, but you hold in the back until the right times, right? Yes, there are some things that seem samey. Nasty Plot Recover Petron, oh wow, big surprise, and the Assault Vest Electros, big surprise. But something like the Toxic Spikes Iron Moth pulling that out at the right time. It was the right time for Sword Stance Chen Pao and such too, so that's pretty big there too. The other one just being set up in general, which has really helped you sweep through a few of these playoff matches. To that end, I have to ask: are you government mandated to bring weakness policy to every finals match? Is that something you have to do?
I don't, and I honestly didn't think about it in terms of that. Necrozma is just a fantastic weakness policy abuser. I would say it is probably Necrozma's default item. It's very good at boosting whichever way you want, and then with Prism Armor and just the fantastic stats, it suits very well to getting that boost. So that was definitely something I was looking at. I could look at other things with Necrozma, maybe a Meteor Beam with the Power Herb, or, just like a Life Orb, or more of a support set. But um, Necrozma was honestly one of the last sets I figured out, but the electric coverage and then Earthquake to get through treads and just hope the Annihilate Terra Waters seemed like a good enough plan, and hey, it worked out for the most part.
Yeah. So, kind of take us through this match a little bit. You kind of got out to a nice early lead. The Iron Treads going down to the Shadow Ball, the Brute Bonnet having to be sacked. Then you started just kind of chipping through the Enamorous. Kind of how were you playing the match kind of at that kind of beginning part?
Throughout the early game, I felt fairly in control. The Sash Moth, was a dedicated lead to try and get the T-Spikes early. That went pretty well, getting a favorable matchup from the beginning. And then, I was ready for the Enamorous to just click Earth Power into me, but due to the setup set, I definitely get that he didn't, switched out. So getting those up and being able to predict a spin and get into the immunity and try and chip things down a little bit with Petrant. And yeah, being able to trade for the treads, was very scared of an earthquake, which may have, done enough. Probably not with Petrant's defense, but that would have done a little bit more there. But being able to trade that health for treads was fantastic. And then getting the Brute Bonnet as well. Unfortunate that it was able to put me to sleep and end Petrant's Reign of Terror. Because with the speed, I was outspeeding everything else there. So it was a fantastic spot there, and once Petrant got put to sleep, that kind of opened the door for John to start making his comeback.
Yeah, and I think he did do a pretty good job limiting things like the Rage Fist. Only hit it into the Annihilate one time overall to boost Rage Fist only once, which was pretty key. But that probably just makes that crit a little bit more devastating as well, because you would handle it so well and were setting up right in front of it without giving it any more boosts. That seems to have been a potential turning point there that got John back in the game. Take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so before we get there, of course, going through the Enamorous, that was a pain. I had previously used Enamorous to win a championship, and that was actually the season John didn't play, so he might not have known my familiarity with it, and I expected the weakness policy and was able to remove it and then slowly chip through it. But then we, get to Necrozma gets the perfect opportunity to come in. It's on against the Fresh Ape. Of course, after Petrant decides to sleep for a while, so that's a little unfortunate as well. But at that point, I'm looking at what's left, and we got Colossal, very big ground weakness with the Earthquake on Necrozma, Annihilate, and Ulma Momola. Both of them I know go down to the +3 Terrablast. I honestly forgot, didn't really look if I needed to commit that far, but it was in a great position, and I felt Ulma Momola with the physical bulk. I didn't check against this specific set, but I needed more than the +1 to one-shot it. But I knew I could take a Rage Fist, and he didn't have anything else he could do to me, especially as he Terra Watered as he went for it. I saw Terra Water. I'm like, this is great. He's going to Rage Fist or U-turn. I'm going to get some chip in, get all my boosts, and from there sweep. And then there's the crit. I did definitely react a little poorly to that. I mean, just gasp and saying how much that mattered. But Yeah, if that didn't crit, there were 3 more turns. We'd be ending, turn 24. Necros was standing there with 3 more KOs at the end.
Yeah, and we saw kind of after that, you took a little bit, and then you went into the Chen Pao, and we saw, kind of the substituting your HP down. Kind of talk to us, after that crit, kind of, it looked like you kind of took a step back to kind of look at, the potential end game for the match now. Of course, this Annihilate was kind of really Club's kind of last chance at pulling something off. So kind of how did you kind of shift plans there after that happened?
Yeah. So after that point, Annihilate is a pain to get through, and I've now lost a great way to get through it in the Necrozma, so I had to try and figure something else. Of course, it had also Terror Water. Not that that mattered too much for anything I had left, but had to keep that in mind. And one method I had landed on was Chi and Pow. I knew I could stall a little bit with Substitute. I at first remembered the Drain Punch would heal off the Substitute, and then I forgot it, and then I sent it in, but then I did it anyways. And we're just getting a little bit of chip. I believe from the beginning, since I sent it out, the Black Glasses boosted Crunch had a chance to KO. At the very beginning, I believe it would have taken a max roll. I don't know the exact numbers. Maybe he was just out of range with rounding or something. But after the first round of healing and poison, seeing that I was making positive progress, the thought occurred to me that, hey, I should just get this Crunch roll in range. At this point, he certainly shouldn't be expecting, the Black Glasses. I don't think there's a reason to. As far as it looks like, I'm just trying to stall percent of HP. So get him low to give the Crunch the best chance to KO from there as I can. However, once I got down 1%, John kind of made a read and said, I'm not going to risk it, and went to Colossal. And, I do enough to hit it and get burned and die to the burn. So that really took a lot of oomph out of my sail at that point, as that was another way I found to get through the ape, and I made a little bit of progress. I basically did sacrifice all of Champao's health for 5-10% on ape, and I guess in the end a lot on Colossal, but it was looking very dire at that point. At that point, I wasn't sure how I was going to break through Annihilate. I could certainly hit it a couple times, but it was definitely going to get through everything on my side fairly easily at that point, and I didn't have the kind of breaking power I thought I would need to get through it.
It sure looks like the Sandstorm Landorus was kind of what was able to carry you through in the end, which was pretty nice. Able to save the Electros for the very end, too, to be able to sack that and make sure that that wasn't something that was outsped and just a free KO as well. So well done on saving the sack there, plus holding on to Iron Moth long enough. A couple of good switch outs there as well to hold on to that. Plus, I have to say, throughout the game, keeping Petra around to stop the Rapid Spin was pretty nice, too. By the time it was gone, hey, everything that could have come in was already poisoned, and that stopped that too. It feels like those hazards played a huge role, both I suppose against you and getting some chip, but also really working those towards you. The toxic spikes seemed huge to me.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated the chip throughout it, and it definitely meant that a longer game would go to my favor. I just had to keep kind of inching it out, make the defensive switches towards the end, and get every last inch I could on especially the Annihilate.
Yeah. All right. At what kind of point there at the end did you feel pretty good? I know at the kind of prior before we started this interview, we talked a little bit. You had a couple options, potentially a couple different roles on the Annihilate. Kind of where do you think you kind of just had a plan and had to kind of go for it?
I until it went down to the poison tick, and I kind of forgot about the poison tick at the point when it went down. I was not feeling great. Since the point I sent in the Landorus, it's like, okay, Sandstorm gets some chip. Maybe I can break through Olma Momola, and I was very happy to see, the Icy Wind, which I still had the Yachi Berry. So that worked out very well for Landorus, and getting rid of the Olma Momola before it could put out another wish into the ape, which would have probably spelled defeat for me if it got, a full wish into a fresh ape.
Yeah.
But at the end, being able to eliminate everything else, even though it did use up all the Sandstorm turns, and then at the as my last switch in, I sack Electros, and then I'm here at the end looking at Iron Moth or Landorus going into Annihilate. I'm looking at both of them. I'm thinking, all right, how much HP are you going to have after rocks? Which one of you is going to have less HP? And so he recovers less off Drain Punch. I had a pretty reliable 1-2 punch I felt like. But I guess I was kind of underestimating Weather Ball as well. Kind of a little bit forgot about the Terra Water. But Moth fortunately had less, and also Sludge Wave doesn't have that chance to miss, so that was great. But hit it, he gets a little bit back, and I didn't actually check that roll, but I feel like it might have been a little bit in my favor, in combination then with the poison chip at the end to do enough. Oh, that might have been a max roll. To do enough to even if it didn't, of course, after the 12% from poison, even if he had a little bit more Landorus, even with the safe Weather Ball should have been it there. So I definitely had things set up at the end, but I didn't really fully grasp it until the ape fell to the poison.
All right. Well, that was a very impressive match from both sides of the club, getting a bit of help from luck, but you really pulled it through in what turned out to be a very exciting match after it looked a little one-sided to start. You have anything kind of else you want to talk about this match in particular?
I'll make a general comment, not necessarily about this match, but I know a lot of finals games have been a little bit one-sided, and that was something afterwards I was talking about with John. Is this definitely to my memory? I don't have a great memory of all the past games. I've been in a couple recently, so maybe I remember those. But they do tend to go one-sided, and this was a fantastic game going back and forth, and I really hope a lot of people are able to remember this one fondly looking back at it.
No, definitely. Nate, you have any thoughts on this match in particular?
Just well played to both coaches. Awesome to see John take another step here. But man, we got to get the same couple of guys out of the winner's circle, don't we? It just keeps being the same couple coaches. Even Michael, you're not too far removed from a couple of wins back to back. But really awesome to see the growth of the league. But Steve, you still got it, man. Still got it in the playoffs, and it's fun to see your, I suppose, a return to dominance here, even after a mediocre regular season. So big congrats to both finalists. This was a joy to watch.
Definitely. And, we've got all three of us here. So, I'm just going to kind of throw it out here, guys. What do you think of the season as a whole?
So I guess I'll head out first. It was, a fun season. Overall, it's singles draft. We weren't doing anything exotic this time.
We did try Terra Captains.
It is what it is. We did try Terra Captains. I feel like it was probably a little too restrictive to my liking, but I know you two will have the opposite opinion. It certainly can work. There may be some things we need to reevaluate with it, but overall, it seemed like a great season. Was happy with, the number of participants and, how competitive it was, especially in those late weeks trying to get the playoff spot and the wide playoff we had. I'm hoping to, see some more crazy week 8s in the future. That was very cool. And yeah, excited to come back to singles drafts in the future as always. Excited to, try some more other doubles drafts and, other things we have planned for the future.
I definitely want to echo the Terra kind of being the focal point here. We settled on a bit of a compromise between both sides. I don't know how well it worked out, but I was really happy to try this. Very interesting. I thought a lot of the regular season dominance from the top teams really was focused on abusing the Terra captains. Right? We were able to see the Incineroar kind of claw themselves up to playoff contention because of being able to abuse that, the Enamorous just going off. But look what happened when we got to playoffs and we started getting a bunch of upsets and such. How much did Terra really play into the finals match, into the semifinals match even? Not all that much. So kind of interesting that we were able to adapt around the Terra usage quite a bit. I don't know if that's because it was tapered back or it wouldn't really matter how much it was tapered back. The coaches were able to overcome that a lot more and a lot better. So I think we learned a lot here. There's still a lot to process and talk about with Terra moving forward. It's a very controversial mechanic, obviously. But that being said, I'm really excited to go into what we have planned for Season 16 too, and see how many more compromises we can make to make everyone just a little bit more unhappy. This was fun though.
100%. Terra seems like one of those things where even if we found a system for Terra that we all really enjoyed, there's a decent chance the next season we'd change it, just because there's so many different ways you can approach Terra. And this season, I just highlight the growth of the league. We all had some pretty close seasons here. And that just means the talent in this league has shot up dramatically over the past couple seasons, getting new coaches who have been great, coaches just growing as players and doing particularly, and the skill level of this league is kind of scary right now, honestly. I've had a couple rough seasons, and I don't think I'm the greatest player, but I did used to be pretty good in this league. So we'll just kind of have to see how it goes on moving forward. And I mean, that's anything else you guys want to say here?
I guess just echoing that, shout out to the league for having an awesome season. 13 teams in the playoffs and a couple more that just outside. Steve goes through the schedule making and the seeding in between seasons, and it's so scary to see how good just the, say, 9 through like 12 or 13 coaches are. Those are teams that can legitimately beat the top 3 any given week. So as much as the narrative has been recently, the top teams just keep winning in the playoffs. We got at least 1 or 2 upsets off those top teams, plus a bunch more teams doing outstanding work in the regular season. It's just a matter of time at this point that we just become one big cluster of really good teams, and that's so cool. And shout out to the Beginners League too. They're starting to creep up more than people might think.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to future seasons, and we'll echo that sentiment. I certainly feel it, and that's one reason I kind of want to make the league even bigger, is so that maybe roughly to that halfway point in seeding is those coaches that I feel the top coaches could lose to any given week. But then again, everyone's getting better, and it will certainly be rough matches moving forward, and it's going to lead to just more exciting games and a close, fun season for every season moving forward.
Yeah, and well, speaking of skill level and the leagues, Steve, I'll leave it up to you whether you want to give a teaser on what we might be doing next season. I know it's still a little bit in the works, but if you want to keep that close to your chest, you can, or if you want to give a little teaser, I'll leave that up to you.
I can certainly give a little teaser. I mean, we've decided on the base format at least. We are going to head back to the league's roots in the monotype base, specifically the gym leader challenge format we did back in season 7. I know on this channel there is, I believe, just the finals recap for that season. But I believe Nate goes over and explains the rough idea. There are, of course, some new wrinkles with Terra as opposed to Dynamax, so some things to discuss about there. Something else that I'm excited to do next season is invite the entire Beginners League to work together with the main league and have one larger league, especially given kind of the asymmetric battles this can result in. So I'm hoping for a great learning experience for everyone, a little more camaraderie, and just a massive, exciting season.
Gym Leader also near and dear to my heart. I do believe that was the first season that I joined the league.
That is correct.
So yeah, crazy to think that I have been around in the league that long now, and we're returning back to that. Very exciting. Congratulations again, Steve. An excellent match, an excellent win. And I hope as a friend that you keep doing well, but as a competitor, maybe do a little less good. But thank you so much for doing this interview and kind of impromptu wrapped up with us. And Nate, thanks to you as well for showing up here with me.
Absolutely. I appreciate being on. Appreciate the work you do at Match of the Week. Don't forget to check out the Match of the Week every single week, as well as our power rankings that I do with Steve. It's so much fun to be able to follow the league in a more intimate aspect, I think, being able to do that on the channel with all of you too.
And 100%. And with, kind of all of that said, I think that'll be it from us today. Definitely look forward to next season. Look forward to more feature matches, more power rankings, more draft analysis. We have plenty of we have plenty to talk about for all seasons, and I'm sure next season will be no different, and we'll see you then.